Admiral Kethvar looked out at the stars from his command chair. The massive bridge of the World Breaker stretched out before him like a metal cathedral. Hundreds of crew members worked at their stations, their green skin pale under the red lights. The ship was so big that it took 5 minutes to walk from one end to the other. Behind the World Breaker, 2,000 ships waited in perfect formation. Each one was a monster of metal and weapons. The smallest ships were bigger than mountains. The largest could swallow entire cities. Every ship carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. "Admiral," said Commander Yixtal, approaching with a data tablet. "We have reached the target system. The primitive world is directly ahead." Kethvar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The Zephyrian Empire had been conquering worlds for 3,000 years. In all that time, no planet had lasted more than a few days against the royal fleet. Most surrendered the moment they saw the ships in their sky. "Tell me about these humans," Kethvar said. Yixtal read from his tablet. "They are young. Their civilization is only a few thousand years old. They use chemical rockets that barely reach their own moon. Their weapons are crude metal projectiles and primitive nuclear bombs. They have never traveled beyond their star system." "How boring," Kethvar said. "I was hoping for more of a challenge." The World Breaker was the pride of the royal fleet. Its main weapon could crack a planet in half with one shot. It carried smaller weapons that could turn entire continents into glass. The ship's armor was so thick that it had never been damaged in battle. "Shall we contact them first?" Yixtal asked. "Give them a chance to surrender?" Kethvar waved his hand. "Why bother? Look at them. They probably do not even know we are here yet." On the main screen, a small blue planet grew larger. It looked peaceful. Clouds swirled over green and brown land. The Admiral could see small lights on the dark side where the humans lived in their tiny cities. "Such a pretty world," he said. "Almost ashamed to destroy it. But the Emperor wants this system for the Royal Navy, something about the star being perfect for our new fuel stations." The fleet moved slowly toward Earth. Each ship was like a flying city, bristling with weapons and thick armor. The crews had done this dance hundreds of times before. They would appear in the sky. The primitive beings below would panic. Then they would either surrender or die. "Admiral," called the sensor officer, "I am detecting some movement near the planet." "Show me," Kethvar said. The screen changed to show small dots moving around Earth. Tiny ships, no bigger than insects compared to the royal fleet. "Those must be their space stations," Yixtal said. "Should we destroy them first?" "Leave them," Kethvar said. "Let them watch what happens when they refuse to bow to the Empire." The Admiral stood up and walked to the great window that showed space ahead. The human world looked so small and helpless. He had conquered worlds with billions of people, worlds with weapons that could destroy moons, worlds with technology the humans could not even dream of. All had fallen before the might of the royal fleet. "Begin the approach," he ordered. "All ships prepare for planetary bombardment. This will be over before their sun sets." The fleet moved forward like a great metal storm. Each ship was a masterpiece of Zephyrian engineering. They had been built to fight the greatest armies in the galaxy. Their weapons could punch through any armor. Their shields could stop any attack. "Sir," the communications officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet. Put it on the main screen." Kethvar said. A human face appeared. The creature looked soft and weak. Its skin was pale and its eyes were small. When it spoke, its voice was high and thin. "Unknown ships, this is Earth Defense Command. You have entered our space without permission. State your intentions immediately." Kethvar laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge. His crew joined in, their harsh voices mixing together. "Tell them," he said to the communications officer, "that they have 1 hour to surrender completely. All military forces must stand down. All leaders must submit to imperial authority. If they refuse, we will turn their world into ash." The human on the screen looked angry. We will never surrender to invaders. Earth will defend itself. Then you will die, Kethvar said. He made a gesture, and the transmission ended. Admiral, the sensor officer said, sounding confused. I am reading more ships. More human ships? Kethvar asked. How many? I am not sure, sir. The numbers keep changing. First it was dozens. Now it shows hundreds. Wait, now it shows thousands. Kethvar frowned. Check your sensors. These primitives cannot have thousands of ships. Sensors are working. Perfectly, sir. But the ships, they are small. Very small. And they are moving in strange patterns. On the screen, tiny dots of light began appearing throughout the star system. Not just around Earth, but everywhere. Near the gas giants, in the asteroid belt, even hiding behind the star's radiation. Where did they all come from? Yixtal asked. It does not matter, Kethvar said. Insects attacking an elephant. Begin the bombardment. The Worldbreaker's main guns began to glow. Energy built up in the massive cannons, enough power to shatter continents. Around the fleet, other ships prepared their weapons. Planet-killing bombs loaded into launch tubes, graviton cannons that could tear holes in space itself powered up. Target locked on the largest human city, the weapons officer reported. Fire, Kethvar ordered. The main cannon fired. A beam of pure energy lanced out toward Earth, bright enough to blind anyone who looked directly at it. It could punch through the planet's crust and boil the oceans. The beam struck empty space. What? Kethvar spun around. Where did it go? The planet, sir, the sensor officer said, his voice shaking. It moved. That was impossible. Planets did not move. But on the screen, Earth was no longer where it had been a moment before. It had shifted just enough for the deadly beam to miss. How? Yixtal demanded. Before anyone could answer, alarms began screaming throughout the ship. The lights flickered. The Worldbreaker shuddered like it had been hit by something massive. Report! Kethvar shouted. We are under attack, sir, the defense officer called out. Multiple impacts on the hull. Small projectiles moving at incredible speed. From where? Everywhere, sir. The human ships are firing on us from all directions. Kethvar looked at the tactical display. Thousands of tiny human ships swarmed around his massive fleet like angry bees. They moved too fast and too randomly for the big guns to track. But somehow their tiny weapons were getting through the Worldbreaker's mighty shields. This is impossible, he said. Our shields can stop anything. But the ship shook again and again. Damage reports began flooding in from all over the fleet. The humans were not using the weapons they were supposed to have. These were not crude metal bullets or primitive nuclear bombs. Admiral, the communications officer said. We are receiving another transmission from the humans. Put it through, Kethvar ordered. The same human face appeared on the screen. But now the creature was smiling. Welcome to Earth space, the human said. We have been waiting for you. Captain Sarah Chen gripped her command chair as the UES Defiance rolled hard to the left. Outside the bridge windows, space blazed with weapons fire. The alien fleet looked like metal mountains floating in the darkness, their hulls glowing with energy shields and weapon ports. Status report, she called out. Hull integrity at 95%, her engineering officer reported. Shields holding steady. All weapons online. Good. Helm, bring us around for another pass. Target the big one's sensor array. The Defiance was small compared to the alien ships. It was only 300 meters long, built for speed and flexibility, but it was not alone. Around it, thousands of other human ships moved in perfect coordination. They darted between the massive alien vessels like wolves hunting buffalo. Captain, her tactical officer said, the aliens are trying to bring their main guns to bear on us, Sarah smiled. Let them try. Helm, execute pattern Delta 7. The Defiance suddenly split apart. What had looked like one ship became 5 smaller vessels, each one flying in a different direction. The alien beam weapon fired at where the ship had been, hitting nothing but empty space. "Reform in 15 seconds," Sarah ordered. "All units, focus fire on target Alpha 3. The 5 pieces of her ship came back together, their hulls connecting with mechanical precision. At the same moment, dozens of other human ships converged on a single alien vessel. Their combined firepower punched through its shields like they were made of paper. Commander Yixtal watched from the bridge of the Worldbreaker as another Zephyrian ship exploded. That was the 15th one they had lost. The humans had not lost a single vessel. "How are they doing this?" he asked Admiral Kethvar. The Admiral stared at the tactical display with growing confusion. The human ships moved like they were alive. They split apart when attacked, came together to focus their fire, and disappeared into clouds of smaller craft when things got too dangerous. "Sir," the sensor officer called out, "I am detecting new ships approaching from the asteroid belt." "More humans?" Kethvar asked. "Yes, sir, but these are different. They appear to be asteroids with engines attached." On the screen, dozens of space rocks flew toward the battle. But as they got closer, weapons ports opened in their surfaces. Hidden hangars released swarms of fighter craft. What had looked like natural asteroids were actually massive human warships. "They turned rocks into battleships," Yixtal said in amazement. "And there are more coming from everywhere," the sensor officer reported. "The gas giants, the outer planets, even the star itself. They have been hiding ships throughout their entire system. A human destroyer flew past the Worldbreaker's bridge, so close that the crew could see faces in its windows. The humans inside were smiling and waving. Then the ship fired a spread of missiles at point-blank range. The Worldbreaker shuddered as the missiles struck. These were not the primitive nuclear weapons intelligence had reported. They were something new, something that burned through Zephyrian armor like it was not even there. "Return fire," Kethvar ordered. The ship's defensive guns swiveled to track the human destroyer, but by the time they fired, the target was gone. It had split into multiple pieces again, each one flying away in a different direction. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the battle from deep inside the asteroid Ceres. The command center around her hummed with activity as hundreds of staff members coordinated. The defense of Earth. Giant screens showed the positions of every human and alien ship in the system. "How are we doing?" asked General Morrison, the overall commander of Earth's forces. "Better than expected," Elena replied. "The aliens fight like they are used to fighting other aliens. Big ships, heavy armor, massive weapons. They do not know how to deal with our tactics." "And what tactics are those?" Elena pointed to the main screen, where a pack of human ships was harassing an alien dreadnought. "We do not try to match their firepower. Instead, we move fast, hit hard, and never stay in one place long enough for them to target us properly." "Like mosquitoes attacking an elephant," Morrison said. "Exactly. And mosquitoes can kill an elephant if there are enough of them." On the screen, the alien dreadnought's shields finally failed under the constant assault. Human ships swarmed over it like ants, their weapons carving through its hull. The massive ship began to break apart. "Sir," one of the technicians called out, "we are getting reports from all over the system. The aliens are starting to retreat from the outer positions." Elena nodded. "Phase 2 worked perfectly. They think our asteroid forts and gas giant stations are our main defenses. They have no idea what we have waiting for them closer to Earth." The human fleet had been built with one simple idea: never fight fair. Every ship could change its configuration in battle. Every weapon could be modified on the fly. Every tactic could be adapted in real time based on what the enemy was doing. The aliens had spent 3,000 years conquering planets that fought the way they did. They had never faced an enemy that refused to play by the same rules. "Captain," Sarah Chen brought the Defiance around for another attack run. This time her target was one of the alien command ships, a massive vessel bristling with communication arrays and sensor dishes. "All right, people," she announced to her crew. "Let's show these invaders what humans can do when we put our minds to it." The Defiance accelerated toward the alien ship. At the last moment, it split apart again, but this time, instead of 5 pieces, it became 20. Each small craft carried a single powerful weapon designed to punch through heavy armor. The alien ship tried to defend itself. Its point defense guns fired in all directions, but there were too many targets moving too fast. Half the human craft were destroyed, but the other half got through. 20 shaped charge warheads detonated against the alien ship's hull. The explosions tore through its armor and into its interior. Secondary explosions began to ripple through its structure. "Target destroyed," Sarah reported as the alien command ship broke apart. "Reforming for next attack." The surviving pieces of the Defiance came back together. New sections deployed from hidden compartments to replace the ones that had been lost. Within minutes, the ship was whole again. Admiral Kethavar realized that his perfect fleet was losing. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds were being destroyed by tiny human craft that should not have been able to scratch their paint. "Admiral," Commander Yixtal said, "perhaps we should call for reinforcements." "Reinforcements?" Kethavar stared at him. "We brought 2,000 ships. We brought enough firepower to destroy 100 worlds. How can we need reinforcements against these primitives?" But even as he spoke, another Zephyrian ship exploded on the main screen. The humans were not just fighting back. They were winning. "Sir," the communications officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet." The same human face appeared on the screen, but now there was no fear in its eyes, only confidence. "Alien fleet," the human said. "This is Admiral Chen of Earth Defense Command. You have 30 minutes to begin withdrawing from our system. If you do not comply, we will destroy every one of your ships." Kethavar's pride flared. "You dare threaten the Royal Fleet? We have weapons that can crack planets." "So do we," the Bay human replied calmly. "The difference is, we know how to use them properly." The transmission ended. Around the world breaker, the swarm of human ships grew thicker and more aggressive. They no longer seemed like insects attacking an elephant. They seemed like the elephant killers they truly were. Admiral Kethavar stood in the ruins of his once perfect bridge. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. Half the screens were dark. The world breaker limped through space, its mighty engines running at barely half power. "Damage report," he demanded. Commander Yixtal read from a cracked display. 40% of our weapons are offline. Shields are operating at 30% capacity. We have lost 600 ships from the fleet. 600 ships. In 3 days of fighting, the humans had destroyed more Zephyrian vessels than had been lost in the previous century of conquest. "How?" Kethavar asked for the 100th time. "How are they doing this?" On the main screen, a group of human ships approached a damaged Zephyrian cruiser. The alien vessel was twice their size and still had working weapons. It should have been able to destroy them easily. Instead, the human ships did something impossible. They began to change shape. Hull plates shifted and weapons moved. Within minutes, the small human vessels had combined into a single large ship that matched the cruiser's firepower. The combined human ship destroyed the cruiser in seconds. Then it split apart again into fast-moving pieces that scattered in all directions. "They are not using any technology we understand," Yixtal said. "Their ships seem to be made of living metal. They grow new parts when damaged. They share shields and weapons between vessels. Each ship fights like it has its own mind." Dr. Elena Vasquez floated in zero gravity inside the command center of Mining Station Omega. The facility had been built inside a large asteroid hidden from alien sensors. Around her, holographic displays showed the entire battle. "The alien fleet is adapting faster than we expected," she told General Morrison over the communication link. "They are starting to spread out their formations to make our swarm tactics less effective." "But they are still losing ships," Morrison replied. "Yes, but not as quickly as before, and we are starting to take casualties too." Elena pointed to a display that showed human losses. We have lost 300 vessels in the last 6 hours. That is still 10 alien ships for every one of ours. True, but they have bigger ships with bigger crews. In terms of people, we are losing this war. Elena studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was no longer bunched together in tight formations. They had spread out across the solar system, making it harder for human ships to concentrate their attacks. They are learning, she said. But so are we. She opened a communication channel to all human commanders. This is Dr. Vasquez. Initiate Phase 3. Repeat. Initiate Phase 3. Throughout the solar system, hidden factories began to activate. They had been built inside asteroids, on the moons of gas giants, and in the deep spaces between planets. Each one began producing new weapons, new ships, and new surprises for the alien invaders. Captain Sarah Chen watched as her latest ship took shape around her. The Defiance had been destroyed and rebuilt 12 times during the battle. Each time, it came back stronger and smarter than before. Captain, her engineering officer said, the new upgrades are online. We now have access to the Type 7 plasma cannons and the experimental shield generators. Good, Sarah said. And the AI core? Learning at an exponential rate. It has analyzed every alien weapon system we have encountered and developed countermeasures for all of them. The Defiance was no longer the same ship that had begun the battle 3 days ago. Human engineers had been upgrading it constantly, adding new weapons and defensive systems based on what they learned from each engagement. But it was not just the ships that were evolving. The human crews were changing too. They had started the battle using standard military tactics. Now they fought with a fluid creativity that no manual could teach. Contact on sensors, the tactical officer reported. 3 alien heavy cruisers approaching from the direction of Mars. Show me, Sarah ordered. The alien ships appeared on the main screen. They were massive vessels, each one bristling with enough firepower to level a city. Their hulls glowed with energy shields that had proven nearly impossible to penetrate. They are flying in a new formation, the tactical officer noted. Triangular pattern with overlapping shield coverage. Very different from their previous tactics, Sarah smiled. They are learning. Good for them. Helm, signal the retribution and the vengeance. We are going to try the new formation we discussed. The 3 human ships moved toward the aliens. As they flew, they began to change. The Defiance extended long metal arms toward its companion vessels. The other ships did the same. Within moments, the 3 separate ships had become a single large craft with 3 times the firepower. But that was not all. As the combined ship flew toward the aliens, it began to spin, faster and faster until it became a whirling disk of metal and weapons. Energy built up around its edges as it spun, creating a devastating cutting beam. The spinning human ship sliced through the alien formation like a saw blade. The aliens' overlapping shields meant nothing against an attack that came from all directions at once. All 3 cruisers were destroyed in a matter of seconds. Excellent work, Sarah said as her ship separated back into 3 vessels. Send the data to all other human units. We now have a counter for their new formation. Admiral Kethvar received the report of the 3 lost cruisers with growing despair. Every time his fleet tried a new tactic, the humans found a way to defeat it. Worse, they seemed to learn from every encounter, developing new weapons and strategies at an impossible pace. Sir, the intelligence officer said, we have been monitoring human communications. They are building new ships even while the battle continues. Their industrial capacity seems to be distributed throughout the entire system. That is impossible, Kethvar said. No civilization can manufacture warships during an active battle. The humans can, sir. They have automated factories hidden everywhere. Every destroyed asteroid might contain a shipyard. Every ice ball in the outer system might house a weapons laboratory. Kethvar studied the tactical display. Red dots showed the positions of his remaining ships. There were barely 1,400 left. The blue dots representing human vessels seemed to multiply even as he watched. They are not just defending their world, he realized. They have turned their entire star system into a weapon. The communications officer looked up from his station. "Admiral, we are receiving another transmission from the humans." "Put it through," Kethvar said wearily. A new human face appeared on the screen. This one was older, with gray hair and calm eyes. When it spoke, its voice was steady and confident. Alien. "Commander, I am Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleet has fought bravely, but you cannot win this battle. We offer you one final chance to withdraw from our system with honor." "And if we refuse?" Kethvar asked. "Then we will demonstrate why humanity has survived every challenge our world has thrown at us. We do not surrender. We do not give up. And we do not lose our home to anyone." The transmission ended. Kethvar stared at the blank screen for a long moment. "Sir?" Commander Yixtal asked. "Your orders?" Kethvar looked around his damaged bridge. His crew watched him with tired eyes. They had been fighting for 3 days straight against an enemy. That seemed to grow stronger with every hour. "Prepare the planet killer weapon," he said finally. "If we cannot defeat them with conventional tactics, we will destroy their world directly." "Sir," the weapons officer said, "the planet killer requires all our remaining ships to focus their energy into a single beam. It will leave us defenseless while charging." "Do it," Kethvar ordered. "And this." Throughout the human fleet, alarms began to sound. The aliens were powering up something massive. Energy readings climbed higher than anything the human sensors had ever detected. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the readings with interest rather than fear. "They are going to try to destroy Earth directly," she told General Morrison. "Can we stop them?" Elena smiled. "We do not need to stop them. We just need to show them what happens when you threaten a human's home." She opened a communication channel to every ship station and facility in the solar system. "All units, this is command. The aliens want to see our planet killer weapon. Let's show them what 7 billion angry humans can build when someone threatens their world." Across the solar system, hidden installations began to power up. Not weapons built to destroy ships, but something far more impressive. Something built to move planets. The remaining ships of the Royal Fleet formed a perfect circle around Earth. Every vessel pointed its most powerful weapons toward the planet's surface. Energy began to build in their cores, a gathering storm that would tear the world apart atom by atom. Admiral Kethvar watched the charging process on his displays. "Time to full power." 18 minutes, sir, the weapons officer reported. "Once we fire, nothing will remain of their planet but cosmic dust." "Good," Kethvar said. "Let them see what happens when primitives challenge the might of the Empire." But as the alien weapons charged, something strange began to happen throughout the solar system. Hidden installations that had remained dormant suddenly came to life. Massive structures emerged from asteroids. Ancient satellites that had looked like space junk revealed themselves to be sophisticated machinery. Captain Sarah. Chen felt the change before her instruments detected it. The Defiance began to vibrate with a deep harmonic frequency that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "What is that?" her tactical officer asked. "That," Sarah said with a grin, "is 7 billion humans working together." On Earth's surface, Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the main control room of Project Prometheus. The facility stretched for kilometers underground, filled with the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. Around her, thousands of engineers worked at control stations, their faces lit by the glow of holographic displays. "Status report," she called out. "All primary nodes are online," reported Chief Engineer Park. "Lunar installation shows green. Mars facility is at full power. Asteroid belt network is synchronized. Outer planet stations, Jupiter's moons report ready. Saturn Rings Array is operational. Even the Pluto outpost is contributing power. Elena nodded. Then let's show our visitors what human engineering can really do. She placed her hand on a control panel that had been waiting for this moment for 50 years. All stations, prepare. For planetary displacement, Operation Terra Shield is now active. Throughout the solar system, massive machines began to work in perfect harmony. They had been built in secret over decades, hidden inside asteroids and moons, disguised as mining equipment and research stations. Each one was part of a single incredible project. Admiral Kethvar stared at his sensor readings in disbelief. "What are they doing?" "Unknown, sir," the sensor officer replied, his voice shaking. "But the energy readings are impossible. They are drawing power from their entire star system." On the main screen, space around Earth began to shimmer. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist as unimaginable forces came into play. "Sir," the communications officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet." "Put it through," Kethvar ordered. Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared on the screen. Behind her, the control room of Project Prometheus hummed with activity. "Alien Commander," she said calmly. "You wanted to destroy our planet. We have a better idea. How about we just move it?" Before Kethvar could respond, Earth vanished, not destroyed, not shattered into pieces. It simply disappeared from where it had been, leaving empty space where a world had existed moments before. "Where did it go?" Commander Yixtal demanded. The answer came when Earth reappeared on the other side of the solar system, near the orbit of Mars. The planet hung in space, completely undamaged, as if it had always been there. "Impossible," Kethvar whispered. But the demonstration was not over. As the royal fleet watched in stunned silence, Earth began to move again. This time it traveled to Jupiter's orbit, then to Saturn's, each jump taking only seconds. The planet danced through space like a leaf in the wind, always staying just out of reach of the alien weapons. "We built this system over 50 years. Elena's voice came through the communication link. "Every human colony, every space station, every asteroid, mining operation contributed something to the project. You see, when you threaten to destroy someone's home, they get very creative about protecting it. The aliens tried to retarget their weapons, but Earth moved too quickly. Every time they locked onto the planet, it vanished and reappeared somewhere else. Their planet-killing beam fired into empty space, wasting its tremendous energy on nothing." "How?" Kethvar asked. "We call it a planetary displacement drive," Elena explained. "It manipulates space-time on a massive scale. We can move Earth anywhere in the solar system in the blink of an eye. Your weapons cannot destroy what they cannot hit." But moving Earth was only the beginning. As the planet danced through space, the human fleet began its counterattack. Ships that had been hiding throughout the system revealed themselves. Weapons platforms emerged from asteroids. Battle stations uncloaked near every major planet. The aliens found themselves surrounded by an enemy that seemed to be everywhere. At once, Commander Marcus Torres led a squadron of destroyers in a diving attack on the alien flagship. His ship, the Retribution, had been upgraded with the latest human technology. Its hull could shift and change like living metal, its weapons adapted to each target automatically. "All right, people," he announced to his crew, "let's teach these invaders why you never threaten a human's home." The Retribution split into a dozen smaller craft, each one targeting a different part of the alien flagship. But these were not the same tactics the humans had used before. Each small ship carried a new type of weapon, something the aliens had never seen. Instead of trying to punch through the alien armor, the human weapons began to change it. Nanobots ate through the metal hull. Conversion beams turned enemy shields into human shields. Molecular disruptors made solid armor flow like water. "What are they doing to us?" Yixtal asked in horror as sections of the World Breaker began to transform. "They are turning our own ship against us," Kethvar realized. It was true. Parts of the flagship's hull were now flying away to join the human fleet. The aliens' own weapons had been reprogrammed to fire at their sister ships. Even the air recycling systems had been converted to human use. Throughout the Royal Fleet, the same thing was happening. Human technology was not just destroying the alien ships. It was stealing them, converting them, making them part of humanity's forces. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the battle from Earth's mobile command center. The planet was currently parked in a stable orbit near Jupiter, well out of range of any alien weapons. "How are our casualties?" she asked General Morrison. "Minimal," he replied. "The aliens cannot hit targets that move like our ships do, and with their own vessels being converted to our side, they are fighting a losing battle against their own technology." "Time to end this," Elena decided. She opened a channel to Admiral Chen. "Sarah, initiate the final phase." "Understood," came the reply. Throughout the human fleet, ships began to gather together, not just combining into larger vessels, but merging into something unprecedented. Hundreds of ships flowed together like liquid metal, their hulls melding and joining until they formed a single massive structure. The new ship was larger than anything in the Royal Fleet. It bristled with weapons taken from converted alien vessels. Its hull shimmered with energy from human technology that the aliens could not even comprehend. "Alien fleet," Admiral Chen's voice boomed across space. "This is your final warning. Withdraw from our system immediately, or face the consequences." Admiral Kethvar looked at what remained of his once mighty armada. Half his ships had been destroyed or converted. The others were damaged and demoralized. His crew looked at him with fear in their eyes. The humans had not just defeated the Royal Fleet, they had made it look easy. "Sir?" Commander Yixtal asked, quietly. "Your orders?" Kethavar stared at the massive human ship that hung in space before them. It was beautiful and terrible, a masterpiece of engineering that made his own vessels look like crude toys. For the first time in 3,000 years of conquest, the Royal Fleet was facing an enemy it could not defeat. "Signal the retreat," he said finally. "All ships, withdraw to the edge of the system." As the alien fleet began to flee, Earth moved one final time. It returned to its original orbit around the sun, sliding back into place as if it had never left. The humans had defended their home by making the impossible look routine, and Admiral Kethvar knew that the galaxy would never be the same. The remains of the Royal Fleet limped toward the edge of the solar system. Of the 2,000 ships that had arrived with such confidence, fewer than 800 remained. The rest had been destroyed, converted to human use, or abandoned by crews who had lost all will to fight. Admiral Kethvar sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display. The human fleet followed at a respectful distance, not attacking but making it clear they could destroy the retreating aliens any time they chose. "Admiral," Commander Yixtal said quietly, "we are receiving a transmission from the humans." "Put it through," Kethvar said, his voice tired and defeated. Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared on the screen. She was no longer in the underground command center, but standing on the observation deck of a space station orbiting Earth. Behind her, the blue planet hung peacefully in space, showing no signs of the incredible battle that had just ended. "Admiral Kethvar," she said, "I am Dr. Elena Vasquez, Scientific Advisor to Earth Defense Command. We would like to discuss terms." "Terms?" Kethvar asked. "You have won. What terms could there be?" "We do not want your surrender," Elena said, surprising him. "We want to talk." An hour later, Admiral Kethvar found himself aboard a human space station. He had expected to be treated as a prisoner, but instead he was welcomed as a guest. Human security officers escorted him politely through corridors that hummed with advanced technology. The station was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its walls seemed to be alive, shifting and changing as needed. Robots and humans worked side by side on projects he could not begin to understand. Everything was efficient, practical, and somehow beautiful at the same time. Dr. Vasquez met him in a conference room with windows that looked out at Earth. The planet seemed so peaceful and small from this distance. It was hard to believe it had just moved itself across the solar system to avoid destruction. "Please sit," Elena said, gesturing to a chair that adjusted itself to fit his alien physiology. "Can I offer you anything? Food? Drink?" "I do not understand," Kethavar said. "We came to conquer your world. We tried to destroy your planet. Why are you being kind to us?" Elena sat across from him, her hands folded calmly on the table. "Because we want to understand why you did it, and we want you to understand something about humanity. What is that?" "We are not your enemies," she said. "We never were. You attacked us because you thought we were weak and primitive, but we defended ourselves because that is what any species does when threatened. The question now is, what happens next?" Kethavar was quiet for a long moment. In 3,000 years, the royal fleet has never been defeated. Every world we have encountered either surrendered immediately or was destroyed within days. You are the first to fight back and win. Why do you conquer other worlds? Elena asked. "Because that is what we do," Kethavar replied. "The Empire requires resources, territory, strategic positions. We take what we need. And if those worlds refuse, then they are removed." Elena nodded sadly. 3,000 years of conquest. "How many civilizations have you destroyed?" "Hundreds," Kethavar said. "Perhaps thousands. I stopped counting long ago." "And in all that time, did you ever consider that there might be another way?" "Another way?" "Trade, cooperation, alliance, working together instead of simply taking what you want." Kethavar stared at her. "You would work with us? After what we tried to do?" "That depends," Elena said. "Are you willing to learn?" She touched a control panel, and the walls of the conference room became transparent. Around them, the space station bustled with activity. Humans and aliens worked together on various projects. Kethavar recognized some of the aliens, species, that the Empire had conquered decades ago. "Those are Zentori," he said, pointing to a group of beings with blue skin and 4 arms. "The Empire enslaved their home world 20 years ago. They are free here," Elena said. "We offered them sanctuary when they escaped. They have contributed greatly to our technology and culture." "And those?" Kethavar pointed to a different group. "Refugees from 12 different worlds, all victims of imperial conquest, all welcomed here, all contributing to something greater than any one species could achieve alone." Kethavar felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Shame. "You took in our victims." "We took in people who needed help," Elena corrected. "Just as we would take in your people if they wanted to start over." "My people would never—" "Your people," Elena interrupted gently, "have spent 3,000 years believing that might makes right. But you have just seen that there is always someone stronger. The question is, do you want to keep fighting until someone destroys you, or do you want to learn a better way?" The conference room door opened, and Admiral Sarah Chen entered. She had changed out of her combat uniform into simple civilian clothes. It was hard to believe this was the same person who had commanded the human fleet that had defeated the Royal Navy. "Admiral Kethavar," she said with a slight nod. "I wanted to thank you." "Thank me?" Kethavar was confused. "For what?" "For showing us what we are capable of," Sarah replied. "We have been preparing for this day for 50 years, ever since we first detected signs of your empire. You gave us the chance to test our defenses and prove that Earth can protect itself. Your people planned for this battle for 50 years?" "We planned for the possibility," Elena said. Humans are very good at preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. When we learned about the Empire's expansion toward our sector, we decided to be ready. But you could have run, Kethvar said. Your planetary displacement technology could have moved Earth to another star system entirely. We could have, Sarah agreed. But this is our home, and humans do not abandon their homes. Elena leaned forward. That is what we want your empire to understand. We are not interested in conquest or territory. We want to be left alone to live our lives in peace. But if anyone threatens our home or our allies, they will face everything we are capable of. And what you are capable of is... Kethvar struggled for words. More than you can imagine, Sarah said simply. What you saw today was just our defensive capabilities. You do not want to see what we have built for offense. Kethvar thought about the human ships that could split apart and recombine at will. The weapons that converted enemy vessels instead of destroying them. The technology that could move an entire planet like a chess piece. What do you want from me? He asked. Take a message back to your emperor, Elena said. Tell him that humanity offers two choices. Continue trying to expand into our region of space and face the consequences, or open diplomatic relations and discover what we can accomplish together. The Emperor will never agree to negotiate with conquered species, Kethvar said. We are not a conquered species, Sarah pointed out. We are the species that defeated your royal fleet. Elena handed Kethvar a small device. This contains all the technical data from our battle. Ship designs, weapon capabilities, tactical recordings. Give it to your military leaders. Let them study what happened here. Why would you give us this information? Because we want them to understand that fighting us is pointless, Elena said. We want them to choose cooperation over conflict. Kethvar took the device with shaking hands. And if they choose conflict? Then they will discover that what you faced today was just the beginning, Sarah said. We have had 50 years to prepare for your empire. We can have 50 more to prepare for whatever comes next. 3 hours later, Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of the World Breaker as it limped out of the solar system. Behind them, the human fleet maintained its escort position, ready to destroy any ship that tried to turn back. Admiral, Commander Yixtal said, the humans are transmitting something. Put it through, Kethvar ordered. Dr. Elena Vasquez appeared one final time on the main screen. Admiral, safe travels. And remember, the galaxy is large enough for all of us. We hope your leaders will choose wisdom over war. The transmission ended. As the royal fleet crossed the edge of the solar system, the human ships stopped following. They had made their point. Earth could defend itself, but it had no interest in conquest. Sir, Yixtal asked, what will you tell the Emperor? Kethvar looked at the data device Elena had given him. It contained the complete record of the most devastating military defeat in the Empire's history. But it also contained something else, the possibility of a different future. I will tell him the truth, Kethvar said finally. That we found something we were not looking for. And what was that, sir? Equals, Kethvar replied. For the first time in 3,000 years, we found equals. As the royal fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Earth continued its peaceful orbit around the sun. The human fleet dispersed back to their hidden bases throughout the solar system. Life returned to normal except for one important change. Humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy. They had announced their presence in the most dramatic way possible by refusing to be conquered, and across the stars, other species that had suffered under imperial rule began to whisper about a small blue world that had done the impossible. Waif, age of easy conquest was over. The age of human influence had begun. In the depths of space, monitoring stations detected the first alien refugees already heading toward Earth, seeking the sanctuary and hope that only humanity seemed able to provide. The royal fleet had come to destroy a planet. Instead, they had